What, we're gonna get a good acceleration with that. Look at that. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're reviewing a 2022 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. And since this is an off-road truck, we're gonna review it on the front yard instead of the driveway because we can't review an off-road truck on road because that doesn't make sense. Anyways, aside from that, I will be taking this truck off-road. There will be a whole off-road review, so if you're not subscribed already, I would recommend subscribing so you guys can see that as soon as I post it. And then on a side note, if you wanna save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 18 around town and then 22 on the highway, with power outputs being 278 horsepower and then 265 pound-feet of torque. So first off, this one's finished in electric lime metallic, and also I want to mention that I will be taking it on the little mound. I know it doesn't look like much on camera, but this will show us the suspension flex at the end of the review, so stay tuned for that. But we have 9.4 inches of ground clearance with the TRD Pro, and then you guys can see this one's got the hood decal, which is pretty cool because it has a bunch of like trails kind of integrated into it, and then obviously it says TRD Pro on that, and you got the venting there in the center, and then we have the upgraded LED headlights with the daytime running lights, and it says Pro in it. Definitely a cool aesthetic. We've got the rigid fog lights down below, as you guys can see, and then notice here we've got the old school Toyota logo here in the front grille. You got a sensor right there, a camera at the top, and then you guys can see kind of like all the accent here, normal Tacoma stuff. But we of course have skid plates underneath as part of the Pro package to protect everything, and then we do have some tow hooks. So it's weird that this has tow hooks but the new Tundra does not. But anyways, there's the front end. Coming around the side here, we've got two 65mm tires wrapped around 16-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear. You guys can see there's quite a bit of sidewall here for the tire, so pretty solid setup. And then notice the wheels are all blacked out with the TRD logo there in the center, finished in red, which is pretty cool setup. Now we do need to talk about the suspension. So we have a 1.5-inch suspension lift here in the front end compared to last year, and then 0.5 inches in the rear. So yes, this does sit taller compared to last year's TRD Pro, which is pretty awesome. And then we have the 2.5-inch TRD tuned Fox internal bypass shocks. You guys can see like the red springs and everything. It's kind of like a TRD color. I'll show you guys the shocks in the rear, but you guys will be able to see the damping with these shocks when I do take this off-road. Gotta obviously advertise that video, all that fun stuff. And then also, they've done upgraded aluminum, forged aluminum rather, control arms, which is also pretty cool as well. So it seems like they've just made the TRD Pro even better than before. Notice here with the fender flare, you guys can see that's pretty prominent. Got the blacked out Tacoma logo right there, and then popping here to the rear. You can see again with the Fox shocks there in the back, and then we still have leaf springs here with the Tacoma. And then notice TRD Pro stamped into the bed. And then if we take a few steps back, there's your full side view. So here's a key fob. We have our unlock lock function, then you got the Toyota logo there on the back. Now we have a payload capacity of 990 pounds. Look at slow lowering, and then a towing capacity of 6,400 pounds with the TRD Pro. This one's got the composite bed. You guys can see here with the LED lights in the bed. And we have a full outlet. It also comes with this mat, which is cool, but it's also not needed because composite bed, but it's still cool that it has it. Cargo tie-down hooks as well. So lots of practicality. The one thing that I will say that's not cool is that the tailgate is kind of heavy. Now finishing things up with the rear, you guys can see you've got these signature Tacoma taillights, which even though these taillights are technically pretty old at this point, they still look cool to this day because it's like blacked out on the side, and I don't know, I really like it. And again, TRD Pro stamped in the bed. I know I mentioned it earlier, but you gotta look at it again. Blacked out badges here on the rear end. Of course, we got another TRD Pro badge right there, and then parking sensors here on the rear end with the receiver hitch. And you guys are wondering, with the exhaust tip in normal mid-size truck fashion rather, pokes out the side, and we have another TRD logo on that, of course. But there's the rear. Now here's the door panel in the rear. You guys can see the material use here on the side of the door panel. It might not be the most beautiful, but this is going to be actually pretty easy to wipe off, and the fact there's a lot of plastic also helps out with that. And then same thing here with these seats. So notice there's no perforations in these seats. We do have a little crease there with the stitching, which looks cool. Which, yeah, definitely like that. And then down below, notice it's black stitching instead of red. But overall, these seats would actually be really easy to wipe off. And since this is a mid-sized truck, you can pretty much just slide right across, almost like an SUV. And then you guys can see we've got a couple of cup holders right there. And aside from that, pretty simplistic here on the back end, side to the front. Now here's the front door panel again, same thing as the rear, and then you guys can see here with the window controls, front two are automated. You got your door lock and unlock mirror adjustments. The mirrors do have blind spot monitoring, and notice TRD Pro here in the headrest. And again, same thing with the seats. Notice the stitching though here on the front seats continues all the way down, which is kind of interesting. Power adjustments are on the side of the seat. And then you got the pedal layout, Tacoma TRD Pro floor mat, and then people always ask me to show the sticker, so here's the door jamb sticker on the Tacoma. Anyways, freeze frame if you're gonna read that. Coming over here, we got like the cargo light for the outlet, camera view. We've got the stability control. The steering wheel is manually adjustable, and let's pop in. So here is the steering wheel with the TRD Pro. You guys can see the padding at the top and at the bottom as well. Notice this perforated here on the side so you can get a better grip. This does have adaptive cruise control. I have tested it out. I'll talk about that in the driving portion. Controls for the center stack, windshield wipers stock. We've got a turn signal light stock. We've got some volume controls, phone controls, voice command controls, all that normal stuff. And there's the steering wheel. Now here's the center gauge cluster. You can see analog gauges on either side, and then you do have that center screen right here, which will show you fuel range, for example. And then we can also see average fuel economy right now, which is actually pretty solid for this truck, because again, you got to remember 18 around town and then 22 on the highway. But I do live at like 4,500 feet elevation, so it's hard to get EPA numbers typically with vehicles. And I also have a lead foot, so that doesn't help out either. But aside from that, the other thing that's important here in the center that I want to show you guys is this page. So this will show you tire pressure, which is obviously important. And then obviously, right, your roll and your pitch, and then safety stuff. But the biggest thing was the tire pressure and the roll and the pitch for off-road use, obviously. But other than that, that is everything for the center. Now here's the infotainment system. First off, if we pop it into reverse, we've got a backup camera with trajectory lines that do turn with the steering wheel, and then you can see the bird's eye view as well. And then if I press this little camera view, notice it'll go full backup camera. Now remember there was that camera button earlier, so if we press that again, we've got the front camera right here. And then you press it again, you got the side camera. So not necessarily the best resolution, but I mean, at least it shows you, so I think it's solid. As for the infotainment system, you've got solid response time with here with the buttons. And overall, it's easy to use. It's not necessarily the most modern looking, but I mean, it has a radio, it has a backup camera, it's a touchscreen, right? And so it has nice shortcut buttons. I can't complain. I think it's fine. Down below, we do have heated seats. We've got dual zone climate, and then notice we have our drive line select, which we actually will have to use for just a second to show you some of the drive modes. And then you guys can see down here, blind spot monitoring, ECT power. We've got the parking sensor there. We've got this for the power setting window, which, there you go. And then we got like our charging port area here, wireless phone charger, a couple of cup holders, which has these interesting little tabs that go up and down. And then notice shifter for that 6-speed automatic transmission. It does have a manual shift function, and it's a TRD shifter, so it's got TRD logo right there. You can't really see it because of the lighting, and then it's red, which is kind of cool. More storage space. We have a traditional brake, and then center console, which again, decent. Has a little cable thread through. And then a glove box, pretty normal. I guess someone had a donut in this before me. Ha, funny. Got the Tacoma logo right there. And then same padding that's on the door panels here on the dash as well. Now we do get a sunroof, which is nice. And then we have the locker for the rear, controls for the sunroof. And then we have our crawl control / drive mode select, well, multi-terrain select, which now let's get into that. So to access this, we're gonna pop the truck into neutral, and then we're just gonna twist this dial into 4-wheel high, and then we're gonna twist it again into 4-wheel low. And you guys can see, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. We're already in 4-wheel low, just like that. So again, we're gonna press the MTS button right here, and notice, well, sorry, now I turned it on. We've got mud sand, we have loose rock, we've got mogul, rock dirt, and then rock from a drive mode perspective with that. Now I'm gonna pop it into drive. Now again, I'm on my grass, so don't get mad at me for being in 4-wheel low, because I am on, you know, not the street, okay? Now I've got the crawl control, which you can press, and notice how you can adjust the speed. So it's the same dial that you go through the multi-terrain select, this dial right here, and that is the same thing for the crawl control, okay? As you guys can see. So there's that whole setup. I didn't need to show the system in reverse, but again, all you have to do is just pop it into neutral quickly, and then you can just shift it back into two-wheel drive. It's a really easy system to use overall. So yeah, I think Toyota did a good job. Now, here is the window sticker for this TRD Pro. Again, this is a double cab automatic V6. You guys can see the standard equipment. Pretty much everything is standard on the TRD Pro. There's a couple things that have been added to this particular one, including the bed mat, for example. But you can see the total price there, $50,733. Let's take it on the little hill in my front yard, and then we'll take it out and drive it. So don't worry, we'll have a much cooler flex when we take this off-road this weekend. But as you guys can see here, we're on this little hill in my front yard, and you can see a little bit of articulation here with the wheels. And then you can see here with the side one, how it's kind of nice and tucked up and under here with the TRD Pro. And so it actually does a pretty solid job with that. It makes me excited to, and this is, by the way, I got up this in two-wheel drive, if you guys are wondering. I know it's grass, so it's not super difficult, but yeah, it'll be exciting to see how this goes off-road, but let's take it out and drive it now. Now let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility of the hood. Both mirrors, they do have blind spot monitoring. Then throughout the rest of the rear, and yes, we are tilted because we are still on the hill, but let's set off. Well, I figured I'd show you guys getting up this little hill here in the front yard so that you guys will feel motivated to watch the off-road comparison. Look at that, and look at the dampening coming down, or damping rather. Solid, look at that. Okay, so actually setting off here in the Tacoma TRD Pro. Now this is obviously going to focus on, you know, on-road application. So first off, let's talk about seat comfort here. And this is something that I'm just gonna be completely honest with. I think the bolsters on the Pro are actually pretty nice, but the middle portion of the seat, the padding's kind of weird. And so like, I wouldn't necessarily call the seats uncomfortable, but I wouldn't call them comfortable either. I don't know if this is like the type of truck that I want to sit in for like a super long period of time, but I mean, they get the job done overall. And so I'm gonna, you know, maybe retract that statement after I take it off-road, because maybe these seats, because they're firmer, will be just perfect off-road. I think that is potentially the case, but yeah, just there's that. Anyways, we got to go over the train tracks and test out these Fox shocks. Look at this. It stays completely on the ground, and it just so smooth. So yeah, just it's amazing how good these shocks are on the TRD Pro. I think that Toyota, obviously, you know, choosing Fox shocks, good on you, but then the tuning from TRD really helps out. And yeah, I think it's job well done overall. This definitely has, I would say, probably the best damping for a mid-sized truck. The Ford Ranger Tremor's pretty close up there, but that's a tough one. But this definitely just does an amazing job. Aside from that, this does have that normal kind of like vague truck steering that is kind of like going away, because modern trucks are getting pretty solid systems. But this being, you know, a little bit of an older vehicle, still kind of has that feeling to it, which is great. Now we are going to, I'm actually going to press the ECT power button. I'm probably going to get like roasted in the comment section, because I know that you're supposed to usually use that for like towing, but you know what? We're going to get a good acceleration with that. Look at that. Okay, we're going to turn the ECT power off. It's not like quick. It gets up and it moves. But here's what I have to say is it is limited by this 6-speed automatic transmission. The power outputs that the V6 puts out are actually, you know, in line with most mid-sized trucks. Now, you do have like the new Ford Ranger with the EcoBoost powertrain that it has that is just so torquey and just, it's like a rocket ship. And then the new Nissan Frontier that has over 300 horsepower. So like, yeah, this isn't the most powerful in segment, but it's got enough power to be competitive. I guess it's just, yeah, the biggest thing I'm just noticing is with the transmission. So notice I'll go into manual shift function. It takes a minute to shift, is the point that I was trying to make there. So yeah, it's in line with segments, but You know, I think that, you know, maybe Toyota's new 10-speed or something, they should pair with this engine. Maybe get a little bit more power, get over that 300 horsepower range. That would be cool. And if Toyota put a turbocharged powertrain in the Tacoma, I know some Toyota fans might not like that because they want a naturally aspirated engine because of reliability concerns, but like I would be completely okay with a turbocharged 4-cylinder on this, just like the Ford Ranger. I think that would be just perfectly fine. So we are going around the roundabout. I was saving you guys my wait in line because there's lots of traffic right now. But again, the steering kind of has that normal, you know, older school truck vagueness to it. And these train tracks are always a great show of tires and shocks, right? You get a little bit of damping from tires if you got bigger tires. Look at that, just handles it. So yeah, let's sum things up here with the TRD Pro. So first off, even though this is an older truck, it still looks so cool. Now, you guys know I've reviewed a couple of these already. I reviewed one that was black, and then I reviewed one that was the same color as this, actually. And here's what I have to say is I love this new bright green. It looks amazing. You guys know this is like the type of color I'd pick, but in black, the new TRD Pro just looks so sinister. So I don't think you can go wrong. Like any color on the TRD Pro looks good in my opinion, but especially the black and green that I've reviewed, I've loved both of those. And then interior, you know, it might not be the most beautiful from a material standpoint for $50,000, but it's very practical, right? You know that all this stuff is very durable. It's going to last a long time, right? You're not going to have buttons falling off in 50,000 miles like you might have with other manufacturers. And then on top of that, right, it's very easy to clean off if you do get this interior just caked in like dirt and stuff like that. These materials are a lot easier to wipe down and everything compared to like, you know, nice, beautiful, supple leather with perforations and quilting and all that kind of stuff. And then from a driving experience perspective, the damping is amazing. And, you know, the only thing that I really have, like, honestly, like me personally, the only gripe I have with this truck is just, I wish I had a slightly more modern transmission. And like the new Nissan Frontier shows that, because the new Nissan Frontier has a naturally aspirated V6 just like this. And also the Jeep Gladiator too, frankly. Naturally aspirated V6 and with a more modern transmission, and those feel perfect. So yeah, they just need to update the transmission on this, in my opinion. And it would, I mean, literally, even if they didn't change the body style, if they just threw like the 10-speed in this, like I would be okay with that. And like I'd be like, great job, Toyota, this is whole new Tacoma, perfect. But yeah, I think still for $50,000, there's not, I mean, there's quite a bit of competition nowadays, but this is definitely one of the best off-road offerings you can get in that price range, especially in today's market. Now that's gonna sum things up for our video on this 2022 Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. And with that being said, I'll see all of you in that next video.